Hello?
Eh, Okay, so thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Ebenezer. Thank you for joining us today. Please let me know if you can all hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So good afternoon or good evening and happy Sunday, everyone. So today we'll be continuing the Q&A for the Thursday session that we had on medical malpractice. And please, I'd like us to put our videos on because this is a Q&A session. And what I did was to post the write-up that was sent to the group. So I'd like somebody to just go to the chat box and read it out so that we can just discuss it here and then we take the Q&A. That's the questions from the mentees. So please, you can volunteer to read it. So anybody can just go to the chat box and please help us read out the storyline or the write-up that is there. Do we have any volunteer?
Okay, I'll read it from here, ma.
Do we have any volunteer?
Yeah, someone has volunteered.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can we all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, I wrote about the inevitability of death as we approach the fifth decade, conscious of the fact that the life expectancy of a Nigerian is 54 years. Today, death visited my brother-in-law, Apostle Paul Egbon, husband of my only sister, Ada Chidoka Egbon, died at age 56. Yesterday, he was at the Federal Medical Center, Jabi, with a complaint of chest pain. The doctor who saw him prescribed painkillers and recommended ECG and other tests. At the lab, they said it was late in the day and asked him to come back today, Saturday. He walked to the car and they drove home. Allowing him to go home was a questionable decision. I couldn't help but recall when, as a graduate student, I walked into Arlington VA General Hospital with a chest pain complaint. They brought a stretcher immediately and took me to emergency. They ran all the tests and held me fastened to the bed until all the results came, and they concluded it was a chest muscle pain. Early hours of this morning at about 5 a.m., he suffered what we suspect to be cardiac arrest. My sister rushed him to the same Federal Medical Center, Jabi. The doctor came out, saw him in the car, and pronounced him dead. They gave her a form and told her to take him to the mortuary. Yes, you read right. They told a grieving woman who was told without any preparation to take her dead husband to the morgue. They did not remove the corpse from the car. Apparently, there is no protocol to receive a patient brought in dead. She was in the car with her dead husband when my uncle, a medical doctor, arrived. I arrived shortly after. She was in the car crying, holding her husband in the car park of the hospital, a hospital they have used for years. We struggled to get her out of the car before we moved the corpse to the morgue. The hospital did not receive the body formally. No attempt at separating a wife from a corpse, no official record of the review that pronounced him dead. They did not cancel her or even, okay, I think this is where it stopped, ma. Yes.
No, I don't.
The messages that were forwarded here stopped at this point. No official record of the review that pronounced him dead.
I think the one you are reading courts Okay, they did not cancel her or even emphasize. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh, sorry. They have just taken my light. Let me turn on the generator, please. Few minutes. Okay. Since they did not cancel her or even empathize with her, it was not a medical failure, wrong diagnosis, or lack of treatment. It was a process and cultural failure. Something has gone wrong with our humanity and sense of empathy as a people. I advise go for regular medical checkups, have a primary health physician who knows you personally and has your history. Your primary physician is likely to be the difference between life and death. Our institutions are weak and our public servants are neither public-minded or interested in service. Together with the departed, we pray for God's mercy and love upon us all. Amen. The person who wrote this is Osita Chidoka. I think he was a former minister. Yes, he was former minister under Goodluck Jonathan and one-time head of the Federal Road Safety Corps under President Olusegun Obasanjo. So this is a personal experience of his that just happened on Friday. Just Friday, 2-3 days ago. So can we go over to the question and answer sessions? The questions that were compiled, you can read them out.
Okay, so please, if you have a live question, please just raise your hand up and ask your question. That's from the session on Thursday and from what we just read now. Okay, so I can see Ruth's hand up. Please, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
For what was just read now, this is a task. I would want them first to attempt at bringing out ethical issues. What was wrong? What could the hospital have done? Then we will still talk about it generally, but I want to hear from the students. So it shows it's not just about reading the material. We want to make it practical. Yes. So they can go ahead and ask their questions, but for this particular scenario, we need to dissect it and bring out ethical issues. Then what step can the victim's family take? What can the victims do? In fact, these people, did they even break any law? So those are the things we want to look at.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So mine is not really a question based on our last class, but based on the question that was sent to the group chat, I just wanted to add something to it. So there's a current case ongoing about Rico, a former Big Brother Naija housemate that was rushed to the hospital, and the health professionals there showed negligence because they were recording, they didn't attend to the patient in due course, and the patient had to die because of the negligence on the part of the health professional. So I just wanted to chip it into the discussion.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Do we have any other person that wants to comment, add something, or ask a question?
Okay, good evening, everybody, once again.
Yes.
I think one thing that I picked out of the case study is the area of delayed diagnosis, because they ought to run the tests on that day that the man was taken there. Whether or not it was a mere chest pain, they do not know. But then the excuse was that they didn't have resources, or it was the end of the day and all of that. So it could be, the hospital could be sued that if they had treated him right, he might have not died, or they might have not lost him. So I think that is one ethical issue that I can point out from the story.
Okay. Delayed diagnosis, one. Next, any other person?
Okay, so there are some questions in the chat box. Maybe I'll just ask them while people are thinking of what to say. Okay, so the first question is there a medical billing guide for doctors in Nigeria to follow? Is there a medical billing guide for doctors in Nigeria to follow? So that's the first question.
Okay. Billing guide in that strict sense of writing, okay, for this, for injection, charge 500 naira, for headache treatment, charge 2,000 naira, for surgery, charge this. There is none stated that way. However, under the Patient's Bill of Rights, and even under the medical ethics, the Code of Medical Ethics, particularly under the Patient's Bill of Rights, one of the rights a patient has is a right to open billing. Now, right to transparent billing. Now, transparent billing entails that as the patient is being treated, the patient is being communicated the cost of each treatment procedure that is administered on the patient, so that as the bill is being accumulated, the patient is carried along. What used to be obtainable is a situation whereby people go to hospital, receive treatment, maybe spend 2, 3, 4, 5 days. At the end of the day, you are slammed with a bill of 500,000. You have no inkling of idea as to how that bill was generated. But with the transparent billing policy now, as you are treated, maybe an injection is administered, they will tell you that this injection is 2,000 naira. Then there's a surgical procedure you are going to undergo. They will tell you that this surgical procedure is 50,000. You now know that your bill, as at that time, is 52,000 naira. As you progress, if there are medications, they will tell you this particular medication is 5,000, that's 57. Until you are done with your treatment, they'll now tell you, okay, that your bed space is XYZ amount. At the end of the day, they calculate your money and tell you this is the cost. Now, you cannot regulate, strictly speaking, billing in the sense that different hospitals provide different categories of treatments. For private hospital, there are even private hospitals that, okay, let's just oppose private and a general hospital. For a general hospital, you have the ward where you can see 10, 15, 20 patients, but separated with screens. You have everybody with his own bed like that. But in the private hospital, you have private hospitals that only you are to a room, or 2 people per room, 1. You have private hospitals that it's like a self-contained, you, then a toilet and kitchenette for you. There are private hospitals you will enter, it's like a 2-bedroom flat. Do you understand? So you do not, patients are being charged for that excess luxury that you are being provided for. So you can no longer say, charge this person for this. There are private hospitals that even their treatment, the cleanliness, the neatness of the environment, these are additional costs. It must be built into, it's the patient that will pay. So, but generally, as a guiding principle, there is open billing or transparent billing, which mandates the healthcare provider to inform the patient. I wouldn't say per second billing, but per treatment. So there is transparency. Now that has effectively removed bill padding or bill, how do they put it, upstamping of bills. Do you understand? So that is it. That regulates that. But for private hospitals, you cannot state. They will still do the same thing, but you know that you are paying for luxury. So there are even some private hospitals that have standby caregivers. Apart from your relative who comes, maybe you come alone in the morning, you have someone who will come and clean you up, wash your clothes and all that. You pay for it. But the standard for treatment strictly is that the doctors are encouraged to use transparent billing approach. That's the guide.
Thank you, sir, for that response. So we'll take note of it. Number 2, how is medical billing regulated in Nigeria? Okay, I think you've already explained that. That's like similar to number 1. Then 3 is there any procedure for litigation, particularly in the healthcare sector in Nigeria? Is there any procedure for litigation, particularly in the healthcare sector in Nigeria?
Yes, there is. However, there is a challenge. The challenge in healthcare litigation is evidence-based. So whatever you are claiming, you must be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt with documents. So the first hurdle to cross for a patient or a victim going into litigation is to gather your evidence. So we have a course, we have a training program for evidence gathering, for healthcare, for patients. How to gather your evidence so that you do not delay. Now, the medical record we are looking for is in the custody of the hospital. Now, the challenges have been sometimes the doctor, the medical record, once you apply or demand for it, that record will be, if there's sense that you are going to go to court, once there's sense they are likely going to litigation or to medical and dental council, they quickly doctor that record to do the right thing. But one of the approaches is to not even give them idea that you are going to litigation, except maybe in the case of death. You can ask, part of your rights is you have a right now to your medical record. You can ask for your file. You can ask for a medical record, not for your file. The hospital can duplicate that record and hand it to you. So I would say now, pretend that you are going to another hospital, so referrer, then call for the file. That way you have gotten your medical record. Now, under your rights to information, we talked about rights to even know the name of the healthcare provider treating you part-time. You have a right to know, it's part of your responsibility now to ask, then know, is it morning, afternoon, or evening shift? These are facts you will need to plead. Then the procedure now, when you get to court, firstly, you need to understand that medical negligence action has limitation. You have to bring your action in medical negligence within 3 years of the occurrence. Let's start from there. Limitation of action applies to this. If you are a victim and you are unable to go to court within 3 years of the occurrence, you'll be caught up with limitation of action. So that means if you bring your claim, they can inform the court. Your opponents can tell the court that this matter you are bringing is status bad because you are out of time within which to bring that action. That is number one thing you need to know. Time is of the essence. 2 is getting professional witnesses, experts, to come and testify. So, and it has to be a doctor of the same standing with the doctor you're suing. If you are suing a consultant cardiologist, your witness has to be a consultant cardiologist, because he is expected to know what this other person knows and vice versa. So even before going to court, you need to have gotten, if you access the medical record, you need to get your expert witness, who must be a doctor of the same standing, to go through that medical record and find out whether this man took the right steps. Let's assume that your case is a cardiology case, heart-related issue. You now have a family doctor who is into general practice of medicine, or who is even a pediatrician or a gynecologist. Yes, doctor, but they are in different branches of medicine. They are in different fields of medicine. There are intricate details that the consultant cardiologist might know that the pediatrician will not know. Not because he's ignorant, but that's not his specialty. So, first of all, getting the right witness. If you just bring any doctor and they put him in the witness box, by the time they ask him 1 or 2, 3 questions, they would establish that he's not even qualified. That will weaken your case. So medical negligence litigation is special, so to speak. 1. 2, you need to be careful about it and be detailed. Number 3 challenge now is willingness of these other colleagues to come and testify against their professional colleague. And even when they come, sometimes they use their medical jargon to confuse the courts. They will just be speaking their language, they'll be speaking their thing. The court is recording. At the end of the day, the court may make no sense out of what was said. However, that is changing now. Some doctors are also fed up with the system, and they are speaking out and speaking out and speaking out ferociously, so to speak. Number 4 is the witness that is testifying. You, the litigant, the witness that is testifying. Do you know your case? Is it hearsay? Some things that you talk about maybe happened when you were asleep, when you were unconscious. How do you recollect those stuff? So these are the few challenges in medical negligence litigation. Now, that does not mean there are no success cases. The other that I shared with you, the case that came up at the Supreme Court on Friday, on Thursday, yes, on Thursday, as at the time of the Court of Appeal judgment had already upheld the 1 billion naira damages granted by the Court of First Instance. So there are successes, but these are the primary procedures. You prepare well, get your facts well, get your evidence well. Now the challenge, most times you now have to get the correct record through the back door. By that I mean you have to talk to somebody within the system who is willing to assist you, steal practically, let me use the right word, steal out the correct record, because that person is doing it without the knowledge of authorities. But if you apply literally for that record to be given to you, they will give you a doctored record. And if you present that record anywhere, everything is fine and correct. So there's nothing you can do about it. The law cannot help you in that regard.
Wow, that's serious. Okay, let me ask the last question that we have. But while I'm trying to get to it, do you pay the expert or is it free? So the fourth question is okay.
That's a very good question. You pay the experts. Now, by paying the expert, not that the expert charges for his services, no. The experts, maybe you cover his cost. Sometimes, if the expert is someone you know, even if the expert is not someone you know, but works in that hospital, the court can summon the expert. The court can actually subpoena a witness. So if the witness is coming at the instance of the court, the witness is also coming for your case. So somehow you are morally bound to defray his costs. The case is in Abuja, for example, the witness is coming from Lagos and court ceased by 9 o'clock. It means the witness either takes the first flight from Lagos to be in Abuja on or before 9, or the witness comes a day after. That means the witness will sleep in a hotel. So you should bear the cost. It's not that the witnesses charge and say, okay, my fee for coming to testify is 200,000 or 500,000. No, they don't do that.
So it's not possible to make it a profession that you want to be a...
No, that you're just a professional witness. Whenever, no. Or an expert witness and make a business out of it.
Yes.
And make a business out of it. No.
Oh, okay.
At that point, you are already a tainted witness. At that point, you are a tainted witness because you are induced by money. What you are no longer coming to tell the court the truth. You are coming to mislead the court because you won't be saying things the way they are. You are motivated by money and you have to deliver. So at that point, you are a tainted witness.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll be asking the final question that we have here. How effective has litigation been in resolving disputes in the healthcare sector in Nigeria? I think you've touched this anyway.
It has been very effective. The second assignment, I sent you another message. I don't know if you saw it. An essay. You saw it?
No, I've not seen that one, but
I sent you an essay, an ongoing essay competition. It is by a law report, and the assignment they gave there's a case that took place many years ago, I think 1993. Yes, 1993. There's a case that took place 1993. They are saying, review the case. Now, that's what they are saying. And what is that case? A child, by our law, a child belongs to the government. A child belongs to the government. Now, there was this child in Lagos that was born to parents who are Jehovah's Witness. And Jehovah's Witness, they do not subscribe to blood transfusion. They don't receive blood, they don't transfuse. So this little baby, 2 weeks after her birth, needed blood transfusion, and the parents said they cannot transfuse. So the hospital quickly went to court, obtained an ex parte motion, an ex parte order, directing them to treat the child. So the hospital took custody of the child and administered treatment and saved the life of the baby. After which, the parents now went to court, sued the doctor, sued the magistrates that gave the order, sued the police. Do you understand? So the court of appeal ruled that the child belongs to the government because that child is a minor and has no right or has no power to make decision for herself. And the government cannot watch the parents allow the child die. Do you understand? So at that point, the parental right of the child was taken away from the biological parents and handed to the government. So this particular essay is now saying that we should review that judgment as an abuse of parental rights, that you should criticize that judgment as an abuser. I thought I sent it to you. Let me check. Who did I send that to? That we should review that judgment as an abuse of parental rights. I'll find it and forward it to you. So the court has been very good, though with what is happening now, people are beginning to know more. The medical profession is being demystified. Let me use that word. Doctors are being stripped of their Messiah syndrome. Or do you understand? Before now, doctors are seen as messiahs. They are untouchables because you are not a medical doctor. You don't even know where to start. It was even difficult for even lawyers, judges to break into that cycle. But with knowledge now, with what the World Health Organization is doing by bringing patient harm to the front burner, establishment of World Patient Safety Day, there are conversations around the world. Doctors also have died as a result of medical negligence. So everybody is at risk, not just the non-healthcare practitioners, if I may put it that way. So that has made everybody to wake up. There are doctors who are now tired of their own system, and they are speaking out. Based on that, the court is beginning to churn out judgments. Now we are having this conversation. Everybody in this particular set is no longer totally ignorant of his or her right, medically speaking. The person now knows he has a right. There are now laws in place beyond the Code of Medical Ethics. Up until 2014, there was no law. Up to December 2014, there was no law in place to regulate the rights of patients, except from the medical ethics. So with the coming into existence of the National Health Act, in 2017, we had the compulsory treatment and care of gun wound victims. So there are laws now protecting patients. 2020, there was a, God help me, standard guideline and treatment and treatment of COVID-19 patients, 2020, brought out by National Human Rights Commission. So there are guidelines, there are regulations coming up every day. Now, these regulations are now helping the courts. The internet is there. The world is now a global village. Whatever is happening in America, you can know in seconds. Whatever is happening in India, South Africa, you can know in seconds. So there is significant progress litigation-wise in settling or redressing medical negligence issues. I encourage everyone, if you cannot do mediation, I have done mediation before and it was successful, but there are cases you can't do mediation. You can't do mediation in a case of outright medical malpractice, maybe organ harvest, for example. What are you mediating? It's a criminal act. You can't do mediation. The person has to go to court. You can't do mediation where there is a negligent murder of a patient. You can't do mediation. You report to the police will investigate what happened leading to the death of that person. The doctor could be charged either for murder or manslaughter. So, but the other cases, yes, you can go to court. I mentioned in one of our sessions about a lady who was misdiagnosed of breast cancer, right? She's in court now with the hospital. It may take time, it may take long, but judgment will come in the favor of the patient. And as we continue to enlighten patients and create awareness of this, you will see that the judgment will be coming faster. You know, the challenge is the court is not a Father Christmas. People live a life of assumption. You just sit in your house and assume that nothing will come out of it if you go to court. But you didn't go to court, so you can't conclude. Until you test the waters, then we know how deep it is. So litigation It's a veritable tool. We also encourage mediation. It's not every case that must get to court. If the parties settle, fine and good. There have been cases like that. So that is it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So please, if you have a question, just raise your hand up and you'll be called so that you can ask your question. While we're waiting for you to raise up your hand, please put your pictures on, put your videos on. It's picture time. So I hope that we're ready. The reason why we're taking this picture is for people to be able to post online, write what you learned, and tag the mentor, tag Mr. Ebenezer. He's on LinkedIn, he's on Facebook. I know he's very active on Facebook. He's also on LinkedIn and he's on Twitter. So please take a picture, tag him, write what you learned. Is very, very, very important. And if you have a question, please ask your question, because the reason why we have a mentor is for you to be able to ask him things that you've read about. So please ask your question. Do we have anyone that has a question? While we are waiting, I want to ask, what court has the jurisdiction for matters, for medical matters? Nanchang, please, you can also unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ebenezer. Thank you, my fellow participants. Thank you, Imam, for organizing this training. I'm very, very excited to be part of it. I've listened with keen interest, when Mr. Ebenezer was explaining the procedure and how to gather evidence. It baffled me that I thought the medical, the hospital, the medical management are so sensitive, are so professional in the discharge of their services. But in a situation where I have a right to medical records, and then I cannot get the proper medical records, and if I apply for it, it will be doctored. So I just want to ask, what is now the hope for people who intend to actually get their medical records? Because I had made mention of if you want to get the correct record, either you get someone, an insider, to steal it from the without the consent of the authorities, or you possibly say you want to go on referral so that they can give you your medical record. So are there no standard procedures or maybe provisions that will make someone get a copy of his medical record as the treatment goes by? Are there no provisions like that? That is on one aspect of it. Now, on the aspect of getting medical experts who are going to serve as witnesses, I discovered that, for example, in Nigeria, that the profession is just developing. You need someone, a consultant, maybe a consultant made a blunder and you want to get a witness. You need to get a witness that matches the qualification of the person who made the mistake. That kind of provision, is it actually?
Hello, sorry, apologies. Suffered another network setback today. Sorry, I missed out.
Sorry, I think you might need to ask the first question and then you continue from the second question. So, personally, I asked the question that what is the court with the jurisdiction to hear
High Court.
Medical?
High Court.
High Court. Okay, then he's also asking a question. Please try to just go over it again. He had network issues.
Okay. what I'm asking is, the medical profession, we believe it to be a professional organization. But in order for me to get a medical record, if I apply to it I apply for it directly to the hospital, I need my medical record. The idea I'm getting is that they will doctor the medical record and then it will look all right. So in that case, if I go to the hospital, it means if I go to the court, I may not get redress for the wrong done to me because everything will be corrected. So are there provisions or are there ways? Is there a way a patient can actually get his medical record immediately? As they are treating, he should also be having copies of whatsoever is being done to him. Does the patient's bill of rights cover or make provision for that? That's one.
The law is that under the National Health Act, I think Section 23, yes. Section 23 or 26, right to information. One of the information you have a right to your medical records. Do you understand? However, the medication would have been completed. Your treatment would have been completed before you can be given a record. If you are discharged today, tomorrow you can apply for your treatment record.
Okay. So it therefore
Sorry, please go ahead.
Okay. So, hello. Hello.
Okay. Okay, I think he's actually not here with us again. I think it's the same network issue that he had earlier.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe we'll just wait for another minute or two, and if he's not here, then maybe we'll round up for today. But I think that we've been able to at least learn a lot from the conversation today. Please let's not also forget that we are having the awareness week in week 8, and every group is supposed to work on a project explaining any topic of your choice in a way that either an illiterate or a child can understand that particular topic. So please, by week 8, by the beginning of week 8 or at the beginning of week 8, you have to submit. So you're not making it in week 8. You should already create it before week 8. So once we enter week 8, you are to submit it. So please, whatever you need to do, start doing it so that at the 8th week, you can submit it. I don't know, Christina is raising up her hand. Is it for me or for Mr. Ebenezer?
Yes, it's for you, ma.
Okay, please feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, the awareness, ma, is it going to be a group project?
Yes, it's a group project. For the awareness week is a group project. So that's there are like two things that you do on the 8th week. There is an individual project and there is a group project. The one that you have to explain a topic in a way that an illiterate or a child will understand is a group topic. It's a group project. So you are to work on that as a group. Think of anything that you can do, that would explain this particular area that you have chosen, either in a way that an illiterate will understand or in a way that a child will understand. whatever you want to do, whatever your group wants to do, it's fine. So just think about it. But for the individual projects that you'll be having in the 8th week, for that one, you would have to explain a topic either in your language, native language, in Pidgin or in English, on any topic that you like as a person. So you are explaining it as a person. But for the group work, it is that you are to explain something, or you are to portray something in a way that a child or an illiterate will understand. So you can just focus on that for now, because by the time it's the 8th week, once we enter the 8th week, you would have to submit it. Then we would give you your individual assignment for week 8, just like we're giving you now. So I don't know, Mr. Ebenezer is not here, but I'm sure. So I don't know, should we just round up, since we've actually asked a lot of questions and he is not back, and it's, so I don't know if Nanchang, you can ask your question on the group. Can you ask a second question on the group? Okay, he's not even here. So please let us just vote on it. Should we wait for another minute, or should we round up for today?
I think we can round up now.
Okay. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you all for joining. I'm sure you've learned already. If the other things you want to follow up on, you can check on the YouTube channel. If you have any question for him, please put on the WhatsApp group. He's also on the WhatsApp group. Thank you all and have an amazing rest.